I thought a lot about my art journey as of recently, mainly because I've had some wonderful discussions with some really amazing people. I reminisced on the first time I traveled internationally with my art, the first time I got to see my art on a wall that's not in the United States. We talked about like my fears, the mistakes I made, the wonderful memories and people I've met through my art journey. And, you know, that person mentioned they wish that I would have shared more about that kind of experience in my journey back then, because they would have loved to know that there was someone that was like born and raised in Trenton and was pushing really hard and creating these kind of like, goals and setting those goals in the art world. I just remember being quiet for like a second. I had to think about my answer because, I mentioned that like when I was posting about it, let's say on social media or talking to people about where I just came from or what happened or whatever, I kind of felt like I was bragging, right? I felt like I was showing off. I got insecure and I also started to question myself because I knew a lot of amazing artists in my community and I thought, do I even belong to be there? Do I belong to be doing something like this, going internationally and they're not? It was a real lesson in my life around that time, a huge lesson, one that I had to like look in the mirror and say, um, you have to keep pushing, you have to keep doing your own, you have to compete with yourself, right? You applied, you did this, like they liked your work. And it was like this confident booster I had to like kind of reinforce in myself. That is really hard to do, and I also thought about a lot of like when I was little, sitting on a porch in Trenton. God, that like living in this like world of chaos and just depression and poverty, and you just you're young and you're sitting there thinking, looking all around you, like, is this my life? Is this what it's gonna be? Like, how long am I gonna live? What am I supposed to do with all this? Um, and who do you blame, right? Like, do you blame your parents because they are not providing this safety for you or these like opportunities because but they lack resources, right? They're dealing with their own depressions and alcoholism and all these, horrible things, and like you're just in the middle of it. So I make it a point that when I'm around internationally, like I make it a point to remember that I wasn't, I know I'm like kind of stuttering a little bit because I'm just like emotional about it thinking. But when I travel to different countries, like the last time I was in Dubai, I make it a point to think about that little girl, and I get really emotional and I start crying. It's always a little embarrassing to people, whoever's around me, because I just start bawling, and it's not because I'm not happy or I'm grateful or I'm scared or oh my God, I just think about that little girl on that porch. Like we did it, and we're still doing it, and we are pushing ourselves in a way that we couldn't even imagine. So, as of recently, the reason I'm even posting this long message, I guess, I had a dream about my mom last night, and I always love to dream about my mom, or my parents or anything, because I feel like even though they're both gone, she passed away really young at 56, that I still get to see, at least like hear her voice somehow, or just know that they're around me. Anyway, so my mom came in my dream and she was like, she told me she was with me and she told me that others are going to follow, right? Or others are following. She said it in Spanish. It was really, really beautiful and romantic in my dream, the way she said it. But see, like this is the reason. When I paint a cross in my artwork, which most people have seen, it's always in her memory. It's like a belief that she definitely had this like incredible belief that people are good, right? That people have like no matter what circumstances, there's always a good in people. It's deep down there. You could be like a complete insane mass murderer, my mom would look at you like, no, there's something good about it. Like there's something inside that's good, you know. And I always loved that about her, her honesty with people. There was no judgment at all, and I try to carry that with me as well in my own character. Um, and so we had these intense arguments because she was a pastor about religion. I, of course, feel that you can be spiritual and connected and pray by meditating and doing whatever you want, however you want to pray, without actually having to step into a facility. Like you don't need to be in a specific religion or building in order to be connected to God. We had so many intense conversations. If you ever get into those heavy conversations with any kind of pastor, I'm telling you, the one thing I loved about my mom is that she didn't try to control or stop those conversations. She didn't try to tell me like you're wrong or anything. She said, "Okay, this is what you feel. This is how represent that part of you. Okay, I respect that." And she would say, "You know what? When you see a cross, you think of me and you talk to me, right?" And so during COVID, during the quarantining and the pandemic and all that shit that was happening in the world and all the social injustices and everything that's just been happening, it had brought so much PTSD in myself and my life. And there was so much healing that I needed to do, like within myself, that, you just keep, as a person of color, you keep moving, 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 right? And you're not allowed to really like show these emotions and feelings. You're just expected to just kind of get over and move forward, right? And so I just remember painting and I found myself putting crosses and circles and crosses. And maybe somehow just kind of like channeling her, wanting to channel her. There's still good in people. There's still light out there, light in darkness, sort of thing. So recently, I've seen a lot of artists that I've known, like, that are putting crosses in their work, right? That not normally used to do it, and I thought, oh my God, my mom was right. In my dreams, she's just kind of like they're following her. Maybe they're looking for their own like inner light. I don't know, whatever. But I just thought it was amazingly cool, that in that way, when you're creating something of an art yourself without thinking about, oh, is this gonna sell? Is this gonna be like some somebody competition, or am I gonna make it? It's mostly like it's just a way of connecting. Maybe this doesn't make sense to anybody. I don't know, but I wanted to share that. I guess I've been feeling very vulnerable about my work as of recently, and um, I've been hearing a lot of, no offense, but your art, blah blah blah, dot dot dot, and I started to think about like, when people say no offense, it is already offensive, right? It's like, but how you take that response, like I think it's none of my business what people think of my work. Um, And I think if anyone ever says that to you or says something like, your work, blah, 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 it's absolutely none of your business, right? You know where you're putting your work out there. You know your truth, right? And not a lot of people can do that, can push out truth, right? So I don't know. Happy Wednesday. Keep going. Um, Maybe I'll share some more.